They said she tried to run over an officer. The video shows her driving away. They said the officer was injured. The footage proves otherwise. A U.S. citizen is dead, and Congress just called out the lies.
Verify every single one of us. An ICE agent fired 3 shots, killing a 37-year-old unarmed U.S. citizen, Renee Nicole Good, as she was driving away from ICE agents on a residential street in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Her death leaves a 6-year-old boy without any parents. And we on this committee should be immediately investigating this. We should bring Kristi Noem to us. We should have that conversation. But instead of conducting an investigation and doing the work to hold this rogue ICE agent accountable for killing a U.S. citizen, Kristi Noem has gone on a full-fledged lying spree, spreading lies that any person who watches this video can see are lies. She even had to get the President of the United States to go on social media and continue the lies. The problem, Mr. Chairman, is that there are videos. There are videos that everyone can watch that completely destroy these lies that Noem and Trump are spreading. So let's play one of those videos right now.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
3 videos taken at the scene show a maroon SUV perpendicular on a snowy street. As you can see, a silver SUV driving up the street stops. 2 masked officers wearing badges that say police and body armor get out of the vehicle and walk toward the maroon car. After getting contradictory commands from the agents, where one tells her to get out of the car and the other attempts to open her door, the driver of the maroon car backs up the vehicle and straightens the wheel as if to make a 3-point turn. Then she starts to slowly accelerate along the street. A 3rd officer, who has been standing on the side of the road, pulls out a gun as the car is turning away. He shoots 3 times. The maroon car does not hit anyone as it rolls up the street. It hits another vehicle and then a utility pole, and the shooter walks away briskly, apparently uninjured, despite the lies that President Trump and Kristi Noem have put forward. Seen in slow motion, which we have been watching, the American people have been watching on television all last night, a video showed the wheels of the maroon vehicle were fully turned away from the shooting officer, who made absolutely no effort to jump away, clearly suggesting that he did not feel as if he were in danger. His first shot went through the windshield, through the front of the windshield. The next 2 went through the driver's side window as the car moved past him. Video taken by another eyewitness shows ICE agents refusing to allow a self-identified physician to tend to the victim and telling him to back up. And when an ambulance did arrive, ICE agents did not allow the vehicle through, forcing emergency medical responders to walk away through the snow with their equipment. DHS and the White House immediately put out statements that were completely false. The president claimed the officer was recovering from his injuries in the hospital, despite him having no injuries, and we saw him walking back and forth in front of the car. Secretary Noem outrageously claimed without any evidence whatsoever that it was, quote, an act of domestic terrorism. DHS and ICE immediately claimed the woman who was shot and killed by an ICE agent, quote, weaponized her vehicle and attempted to run over law enforcement when the video clearly shows she is trying to drive away. And according to reporting, ICE officers are trained to never approach a vehicle from the front, as this officer did. Instead, they are taught to approach in a, quote, tactical L, 90-degree angle to prevent injury or crossfire. Mr. Chairman, we need an independent investigation into what happened in Minneapolis. This is not the first time this has happened. In only the last 4 months, immigration agents have fired on at least 9 people. And ICE also shot and killed Silverio Villegas Gonzalez in Chicago and suddenly claimed he was violent. Congress needs to step up. This committee needs to step up. And I ask you, Mr. Chairman, to please make sure that we bring Secretary Noem before us. Where is Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons? Where is Attorney General Bondi? This committee is conducting no oversight and is derelict in its duty to the American people.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
Thank you, and I ask for unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, to put into the record an article titled, ICE officers trained never to approach a vehicle from the front, DHS official says.
Objection.
From the New York Times, deadly Minneapolis encounter is the 9th ICE shooting since September.
Objection.
I yield back.
Chair, now the gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to respond briefly to this, that number one, I think it's unbelievably irresponsible to throw out words like murder to reach a conclusion before any further investigation is due. That's inflammatory, it's sensitive, it's unbelievably irresponsible. And you know, my colleague mentioned that there was a tragedy in Minnesota, and I think that we're missing the tragedy. We have seen a governor, an AG, a mayor, local officials, top to bottom, encouraging citizens to violently protest federal authorities who are seeking to remove people who are here illegally. And specifically, people who are here illegally committing crimes. That's what's so outlandish to me. That's the tragedy here. You have elected officials who are leveraging their political capital to protect those who are here illegally. And of course, whenever anyone loses a life, it is a tragedy, but you cannot avoid the facts of this case. The officers approached the vehicle. They asked the woman to stop. They asked her to get out of the car. She did not comply. She hit the gas pedal. All of those were avoidable. Had she obeyed the instructions of law enforcement, there would have been a very different outcome. So to all who watch, when law enforcement approaches, especially if you're trying to obstruct their mission, obey. Don't hit the gas pedal, get out of the car. Mr. Chairman, I yield back the balance of my time, but again, let me just reiterate, throwing out inflammatory rhetoric before there has been any conclusion drawn is unbelievably irresponsible, and it adds to an already inflamed situation, and I urge my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to stop it.
Gentleman yields. We got to line up, but I'll probably go to the ranking member, and then I'll.
Representative Pramila Jayapal stood before the House Judiciary Committee and described what happened in Minneapolis. An ICE agent shot Renee Nicole Good 3 times. Good was a 37-year-old U.S. citizen. She was unarmed. She is now dead, and her 6-year-old son has lost both parents. Jayapal didn't just call for an investigation. She presented video evidence that, in her telling, directly contradicted the official narrative coming from the White House and the Department of Homeland Security. What made this hearing so significant is not just the tragedy itself. It's what the exchange revealed about how facts, accountability, and federal authority are being contested in real time. You don't need to agree on immigration enforcement policy to understand why video evidence and independent investigation matter in cases where federal agents use lethal force. Jayapal walked the committee through what the footage showed. ICE agents surrounded Good's vehicle. They issued contradictory commands. Good put her car in reverse and backed away. As the vehicle moved away from the officers, turning, not advancing, one agent fired 3 shots. The car did not strike anyone. According to Jayapal, the video clearly shows the vehicle moving away from the officer at the moment he opened fire, not toward him. She also detailed what allegedly happened after the shooting. ICE agents reportedly refused to allow a physician on scene to treat Good. They blocked an ambulance from reaching her. Jayapal stated that these actions delayed medical care at a critical moment. Then she addressed the official characterization of the incident. President Trump and Secretary Kristi Noem had described the shooting as justified, claiming the officer was injured and that Good had weaponized her vehicle in an act of domestic terrorism. Jayapal presented evidence she said refuted both claims. The video, she argued, showed Good attempting to flee, not attack. The claim of officer injury, she stated, was contradicted by available footage. This is not a dispute over tone. This is a dispute over what happened and whether the public is being told the truth. When a federal agent kills a U.S. citizen and the official account differs sharply from video evidence, independent oversight is not optional. It is the constitutional obligation of Congress. Jayapal also raised a broader pattern. She noted that IC officers are trained not to approach vehicles from the front precisely because it creates situations where agents might claim they were in danger from a moving car. She pointed to what she described as a recurring problem: immigration agents firing on individuals in circumstances where lethal force may not have been justified. She called for the committee to exercise its oversight authority and bring DHS officials in to testify under oath. Representative Brad Knott responded with a fundamentally different framing. He called Jayapal's use of terms like murder unbelievably irresponsible. He argued that jumping to conclusions before a full investigation is complete inflames tensions and undermines law enforcement. His message was clear: wait for the investigation, respect the process, and do not prejudge the officer's actions. But Knott went further. He suggested the real tragedy was not the shooting itself, but that elected officials were encouraging citizens to violently resist federal authorities. He framed Good's death as avoidable, if only she had complied with law enforcement commands. When officers approach, he said, you obey. You don't hit the gas. You get out of the car. That framing shifts the entire moral and legal landscape. In Knott's telling, Good's decision to drive away made her responsible for what followed. Compliance, in this framework, is not just advisable. It is a civic and legal obligation that, if ignored, can justify lethal response. That distinction is not semantic. It is the dividing line between a society where use of force is a last resort subject to scrutiny and one where it is a default response to noncompliance. This exchange also didn't happen in a vacuum. It comes at a time when immigration enforcement has been dramatically escalated, when federal agents are operating with expanded authority, and when the executive branch has signaled that resistance to deportation operations will be met with force. Against that backdrop, debates over what constitutes justified use of lethal force are not academic. They are urgent. Habeas corpus, due process, and the right to life are not partisan talking points. They are constitutional guarantees that apply to every person on U.S. soil, citizen or not. When a U.S. citizen is killed by a federal agent and the facts are contested, Congress has a duty to investigate. That duty does not disappear because the administration claims the shooting was justified. It intensifies. Jayapal's call for oversight was rooted in that principle. She was not asking the committee to convict the officer. She was asking it to do its job: gather testimony, review evidence, and determine whether federal agents are operating within constitutional bounds. That is what congressional oversight exists to do. Knott's response reflected a competing view: that questioning law enforcement in the wake of a shooting undermines authority and emboldens resistance. In this view, supporting law enforcement means withholding judgment, trusting the process, and not amplifying claims that could incite public anger. But trust is not a substitute for accountability, and waiting for an internal investigation to conclude does not prevent Congress from asking questions in parallel. The legislative branch does not need permission from the executive branch to exercise oversight. That independence is foundational. Democracy doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes quietly when oversight is dismissed as partisan, when video evidence is contested without investigation, and when the killing of a U.S. citizen becomes a talking point rather than a moment that demands answers. Staying informed is how accountability survives. If you believe constitutional rights should apply to everyone, no matter who's in power, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Moments like this deserve attention, not because they are dramatic, but because they test whether the system still works when power is questioned.